Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of Captain America Cold War Alpha Issue 1. Oh, and this was actually a pretty decent issue for me. I really liked seeing Steve and Sam kind of come together with the Outer Circle thing, and it actually works out pretty well in my opinion. Where sometimes you don't really get the awesome kind of combination of like, hey, here's this one story and here's this other story, and them just organically working. Sometimes it's just like, okay, that's peanut butter and pickles. Sure, people can like it, but you need to work a little bit more finesse rather than the kind of peanut butter and jelly, peanut butter and chocolate that you kind of get with this. And I really like the cover showcasing Steve and Sam, and then the whole kind of Bucky in the background. It's like, let's see what goes on here. So we open up and we see White Wolf in his captured state, and that the revolution is coming in to see what's going on. Now, White Wolf's remarking how they're both the same. They're victims of haywire aircraft, trained replacement for our brothers, assassins moving in the shadows, white as snow and cold as winter, except for the obvious difference, of course. I'm a king and you're a pawn. And it's like, you sure about that? And of course, Bucky just pretty much tells him not anymore, which that's a nice kind of shot there. Granted, there are some. My main kind of criticism comes into the art. It's not bad, it's just the faces look different than what I'm kind of used to. Like, Bucky's here looks pretty cool to me. And then we get over to this one side panel, and it just looks kind of slightly off or different to me for some reason. I'm just like, alright. That also happens with Steve in here. It's just like, okay. It's just not what I'm kind of used to. Not that it's bad or anything. Let's see. And Bucky pretty much just calls him a rook at best, as he's utilizing his arm to do some pretty cool tech stuff. It's like, yes, and that's not the end of it, as we get into him actually using it for more offensive purposes as well. And it's funny, White Wolf's making fun that, oh, your sobriquet, your whole kind of like new thing is kind of a mouthful, don't you think? He's like, and then Bucky's like, I'm holding all the cards. And he's like, come on now, I paid the salaries of all the guards in this place like 10 times over. They allowed me to keep some certain things. You keep your cards while I'm holding the knives, as he starts throwing knives at him. And Bucky's arm just keeps kind of changing into like offensive capabilities. It's like, holy shit. Well, this is more of a defensive one for like to shield himself. And of course, he's like, I'm not here to kill you. What? You're just here because you're a big fan? As he then turns his arm into a spike pretty much to go after his ass. He's like, you disgust me. You were raised to be the brother of the Black Panther, and have done nothing but try to destroy the Wakanda he's built. But you have something I want, so I'm willing to trade your freedom. It's like, that's not good. I mean, you don't like this dude, and you're willing to trade his freedom for all the shit that he's done? He's like, I need the transmitter, the one you used in Mohanda, and I need the codes. He's like, so I do have some cards. How about this, Revolution? I don't give you a damn thing. It's like, you really don't know how this works. And of course, Bucky's like, that's not how you leave this room. And it's like, why would I want to leave the room when we've just sat down at the table? Freedom's not enough? When I negotiate, it's only for more. Just one condition and my technology is yours. Fine, what's your condition? I want the damn throne. As they're then pretty much like arm wrestling. So then we get to the good bit, where we see Steve and Ian pretty much just having a kind of nice kind of lunch. And the thing is, of course, it doesn't stay that way. Of course, talked about, yeah, you look good. Yeah, I heard you got shot. Oh, you know me. I got better. And then bringing up the whole thing with Zemo's base, your mother and I, Sharon and I, we thought you were dead. She looked halfway across the planet for you. I know, and I'm sorry. I was just trying to find my own way. And how's that going? And granted, I do like that he like gave a kind of explanation, and Steve doesn't like attack him for it. He's like, and how's that going? Well, I'm not fighting across the wasteland of genetic horrors cleaning up Arnim Zola's insane mistakes, and I got to team up with Sam for a second Mohanda, so things are looking up. But I'm worried about you. Bucky's gone. I heard your friend Roger died. You okay? That's a lot of tragedy for one man, even Steve Rogers. I'm just happy to see you, son. And this is where I'm like, it's still nice to kind of see Steve smiling about it, but it's just different than what I'm used to from the other comics that I've been seeing him in. Let's see. And of course, he gives the lowdown, and this I think is valid enough because some people might not have been reading up on the other comics. So if you're like, this kind of like special one thing that gives us into the event and everything, which is $1 more, $4.99. It's like, okay, gives you kind of a lowdown. Bucky trying to take down the outer circle from the inside. You know how hard it can be when you destroyed your father's control system, when you liberated Dimension Z. And then Ian's like, Zola's not my father. He's just the monster that made me. Well, Bucky's no monster, but he is lost. I thought maybe I could give him a way out, like he did for me. And it's like, you may not know this, but whenever you're in the room with someone, that person, they're trying to be their best self. You help them see it. It's in your nature. But they have to find their own way in their own time, like I did as Nomad. As they're pretty much just eating and everything. And that's a really cool and insightful thing for Ian to kind of give to Steve, because Steve just sees himself as like this regular dude. Now, granted, he does deal with extraordinary kind of situations, but that is a really kind of cool thing for Ian to kind of get into. But then, of course, Steve's like, get behind the shield. Wait, what? And then he's like, all this stuff's going wrong. He's like, yeah, I eat at this place. I know it's scheduled. Everybody's out. Get behind the shield, Ian. And someone's setting us up. Oh, and the cool bit is, I really like in this scene, in this kind of panel, that you can see this his nomad stick, for lack of a better term, in Steve's shield. And then we pretty much see that the place is like blown the hell up, and that is a really cool art piece right there, where Steve just pretty much like banged up all the hell, and like his shirt ripped, and he's still got his suit on. And then we see someone say, I really am sorry it had to be like this, Steven. The Revolution sends his regards. Ian, as we see pretty much Peggy taking him into pretty much a Dimension Z riff. And of course, Steve's like, why are you doing this? She's like, I'm a Star Point, one of the Outer Circle's playthings, just like Bucky. Turns out I always have been. And for what happens next, I'm really sorry. Don't dare try to follow us. We both know you wouldn't like what's on the other side of this portal. As Steve, of course, tries to jump in after them. And we see that the police are like, are you okay? What happened in there? And he's like, Sam, we have a problem. And then 4 hours later, we see Sam, which really fucking nice part right there. Then we see Sharon and Misty being like, oh, damn. He's like, oh, I know, Sharon, it's been far too long. Great to see you, Sam. Really impressive work in Mohanda. The whole region can be a powder keg, and I got the burns to show for it. And it's funny. Misty is like holding Sam's hand, and Sam's like, in front of the kids, Misty, Samuel Wilson, you play too much. She's like, I don't feel this as much as a date as a world-threatening emergency. You got that look in your eye. Yeah, I really do. And so does he. As we then see them clasping hands, Steve and Sam again. It's like, all right, you want to kick this off, Cap? We're in your house, Cap. After you. And then we get Sam pretty much giving the lowdown of what's going on and what happened. Pretty much that the Hog was evacuated under the chemical threat. White Wolf was taken out. And, of course, Ian was kidnapped by Sharon's aunt. And, of course, Sharon and Misty are like, daughter's liberty, my ass. And it's like, what connects those threads? One clue. My friend David pulled the security footage from across the street. That is a Zola gate and only goes one place. Dimension Z. It's like, yes. So, we know that is in play. And, of course, Sam brings up that White Wolf got this stuff, got his hands on the technology, but someone else is pulling the strings. And Steve's like, I don't have a guess. I know. It's Bucky. And then, of course, Steve gives Sam the whole outer circle kind of spiel, and that Bucky's one of them. And then we see Steve pretty much crack into the table a little bit. It's like, damn. Let's see. Align himself with villains and monsters, and he's using Ian, and he's like, I have to get my son back. And that's pretty much Steve's important kind of driving force at this point. Let's see. And of course, Misty's like, yeah, it's at the Aberrant Crime Division. Monsters have the brunch menu. We'll help you get Ian back. It's like, yeah, all right. So they're pretty much trying to like monitor aberrant crimes and everything, looking for the same energy signature, and the Home Office thought Skrulls, but based on the shape of this sighting, I'm guessing that this is the Outer Circle. They're running some kind of war games in the Yukon and the Arctic, and we get the lowdown from Sharon that she was pretty much taking down, like, Alaska's militia problem. She wasn't actually really, because now that she's seen that she was pretty much being used to, like, scatter them so the Outer Circle could, like, make an army out of the worst of the worst. It's like, yeah, that seems to be how they kind of do these kind of things. Of course, Sam is trying to caution Steve that Bucky isn't stupid. And of course, they have to go and see what's going on up there. And then, of course, Sam's like, how do we know that Bucky won't, like, slit Ian's throat as soon as he gets whatever he's after? And Steve's like, because I know. And Sam's like, because you hope. I'm with you on this. You're my brother, and I will always back you to the ends of the earth. But if this Outer Circle is everything you say, they don't let you sit at the table. It's like, yep. So then we shift over, and we see that Ian is in his captivity with Peggy, saying that, like, sorry, you deserve better than this, as she pretty much, is pretty much trying to, like, get his attention, as we see pretty much Bucky's arm going in there. He's like, what the fuck's going on? He gets stabbed and jabbed, and we see that White Wolf saying that he's home, and that Ian's like, I'm going to tear you limb from limb, even though his electro manacles are pretty much shocking the shit out of him. And then Bucky's like, your dad loves you very, very much, which means he's on his way with friends. And it's like, if you hurt him, I'm going to gut you groin to gullet. I will turn your rib cage into armor to be worn at your funeral. But he's going to be too late. And we see then that this machine kind of puts out this goop stuff that White Wolf then drinks. The genetic keys to the kingdom, Bucky says, that he keeps his promises. And of course White Wolf's like, oh, Ian, you're so stupid for not knowing what you've had in your DNA all these years. No idea that you've lost what you never even wanted, but don't worry, I found it for you. Now Dimension Z is mine. Pretty much taking, I guess, Arnim Zola's, like, genetic code stuff and pretty much wrapping it onto White Wolf so that way he can take control of the Frox and everything like that. And then, of course, we see Bucky pretty much like, yes, Frox, his blood flows through your new master. Now fulfill your bargain, Hunter. Say the words. And then, of course, they went to Herald is coming. The throne is awoken. The monster forge will burn again. The White Wolf is here to lead you. Sharpen your blades. Sharpen your teeth. Dimension Z is going to war. As we see White Wolf's sharp teeth. It's like, shit. So we shift over to Alaska, and we see the Outer Circle pretty much trying to create a new tithe army from all of these assholes. And they've got a lot of fucking tech. As we see pretty much our Team Caps looking on and being like, what the fuck? So they've pretty much consolidated into two armies which are battling under the Shadow Capital. And it's funny, he's like, their flying saucer looks a lot like your shield. It's giving overcompensation. Yes, Misty, it is. Of course, Steve brings up the whole thing that the Tithe forces looking at a crucible they're using to make their new combined forces. And then what they're on pretty much starts scattering apart as they pretty much get thrown into battle, which, another great action-looking page right there. So then we see that they're trying to figure out how to get control of the situation. Steve wanting to get the higher ground. And Sam's like, we're on a mountain, Steve. I don't think we're getting any higher. You got another idea? We need to find those portals. Shadow Capital, I have interlopers. Taking the shot. And of course they're trying to go after Misty, but Sam's able to protect her with his shield. No one shoots at my girl. Baby, your ass is my favorite to save. As she then goes around and fucking kicks him. Kicks the guy that was going after him, pretty much. Not Sam. And then, of course, Steve's pretty much getting, like, bum rushed by a lot of them, but he starts taking them out as well. And pretty much we're like, but if they think they can, anything they do will keep me from Ian, they have no idea how wrong they are. No idea at all. Well, Steve, they might not be all the way wrong. I've got an idea. Who needs the high ground when we got the actual ground, huh? On my mark, Sharon, you and me, we leapfrog to the cliff. Sam, you and Steve hit the ground hard as you can. Trust me. Misty, you're crazy and I love it. So they pretty much decide to do a double cap ground pound, and Steve doesn't care. He's like, been on ice once already. What's one more time? Like, if this went wrong and they all got, like, encased in ice or something like that. So they pretty much got the flank taken care of. Now we just got to find one of those portals. I don't think that's going to be a problem, as we then see pretty much the Dimension Z portal opening up with the frogs pretty much coming out. And they look kind of crazier with, like, armor and wolf sigils, being like, "Glory to the Wolf King, Blood Monarch of Dimension Z. Let this place of war feel the revolution." And of course they're like, Bucky, like, White Wolf. They're flipping the table, and we're too late. And it's like, yeah, we gotta have to see how this kind of works out. Of course, White Wolf is kind of gloating, being like, you gotta smile, Mr. Barnes. You're going to operate from the shadows. Learn to enjoy it. This is the fun part. This isn't about fun, Hunter. This is about the future. We're crashing the only game that's ever mattered, and it's going to cost me the lives of the only real friends I've ever had. When both Captains America are dead, I won't be smiling, but I will be winning. Which is an interesting and important thing to kind of get into with Bucky, where he usually, since he has been in these kind of shadow games, that's kind of all he kind of understands. I mean, Steve and the rest do give him a kind of better way, but he sees this kind of game that the Outer Circle's doing, and even though it hurts him to pay these kind of prices, if he wins the game and changes it and breaks it, that's worth it to him, at least from what we're getting here. So it's like, okay, he doesn't like what he's doing, but he's got his goal, but there's got to be better ways to get to that goal. Steve can help him with that. Sam can help him with that. Misty, Sharon, all the rest of them. He's taken it upon himself to do these things because he thinks he's the only one that can do them. Like, at least in this kind of aspect. He still trusts Steve because he didn't kill him to stop him from interfering with him. Because that's a core kind of part of Bucky. He's trying to make a better world for Steve and for his friends, even if it does kind of cost him his friends. So we'll see how that kind of works out. But working with White Wolf, I hope he's got contingency plans, because White Wolf is a sticky motherfucker to kind of deal with, and we'll have to see, because he knows that Bucky would fuck with him and kind of like put him out to pasture. So I enjoyed this issue for the story and getting us set up for the Cold War and the fusion of Bucky working with White Wolf and seeing how that'll kind of work out. And I do like that it's like a one-shot alpha to kind of get you into it, and I think it does a good job of getting anybody up to speed that hasn't been reading the Captain America's comics. And if you are into it, but the thing is, it's not like this is a separate event. We get this one shot, which kind of introduces us to the new status quo, and then it continues on through Sentinel and Symbol. So if you want to, you'd have to go through those and get through those. So I do understand that's a weird kind of way to do an event. It works out more in a kind of fan like mine favor, who is reading both comics and it wants to be invested in both comics, but if you're into one or the other, it's gonna be kind of weird for at least a little bit. Because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, so 2 Symbol of Truths and 2 Sentinel of Liberties, and then the Omega to end the event. So you have to go on hiatus for a little bit if you're like, I just want to see what Sam does with his stuff, or Steve does with his stuff. So I'm excited for this, but if that's not your thing, I totally get it, and I think you would be good to just like take a break for like 2 months or however much, and then kind of check in with it. But I've been liking these storylines, and I can't wait to see how they interweave between both titles. So those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.